episodes on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that you will consider this like your vitamin or supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating and a brief written review and pass the word along. Today is the only day that we have. Good, bad, or indifferent. So whether today is the best or the worst of times, and I happen to be recording this while the world is going through what many are determining to be a difficult time. So whether it's the best, whether it's the worst of times, it's the only time we have. You and I were born, and we are in this world for such a time as this. And we can change the quality of our life simply by changing our activities and our attitudes. It starts from the inside out. Do I want to improve? Do I want to get better? Because the activities that you've done to this point in your life have been very successful at getting you to where you are right this very moment. If you want to be somewhere different, if you want to be a different person, if you want to make constant improvement, if you want to face the challenges that are before you today, more than likely, absolutely, you're going to have to change the activities that you're involved with. Because today's productivity for you and for me is going to be determined by the activities we choose and those we refuse. You understand that whenever you make a decision to do something, you are likewise making a corresponding decision to not do something else. This applies to every area of our lives. Whatever vocation you're in, whatever one you have chosen or a calling you have answered, means you had to say no to everything else. If you chose to get married, you also chose not to marry anyone else. I could go on, but I think we all know that. So if you don't like where you are today, maybe this would be a good time to take an inventory to see, why am I here? How did I get here? How did I get to this spot where I am today? And you may want to blame others. You may want to point out that it's somebody else's fault. But the fact of the matter is, it is the results of the choices and activities you have chosen to get involved with. You see, you're going to have to choose. You get to choose what you're going to do. Now you'll say, no, I've already made that decision. Well, you're going to get to choose your attitude, and you're going to get to choose the spirit with which you do those things. You can make changes. The quality of your life can simply change by making changes in your attitude, but it must be more than that. I'm not just talking about positive thinking only. It has to be followed by making corresponding, changing activities, changing your routine, doing things that you haven't been doing. But there's also another. A good chooser is also a good refuser. It's not just enough today, if you want things in your life to change, to just make some positive choices. Now that's important, and you absolutely need to do that. But you're also going to have to stop doing some things. I meet with people periodically who are just so plugged into a negative charge. I mean, they just are so negative. And you begin to ask them, how do you spend your hours, not just your hours at work or at school, but in the time, what we would call your discretionary time, the time that you have control over, the time when you get to choose how you're going to spend your time. And here's what they do. They spend their time complaining about someone did them wrong, my parents, my teachers, my preachers, my boss. They spend their time surfing the internet mindlessly. They spend their time spacing out in front of the television or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or gaming and so on. The inability to say no to these things is the first step to getting overwhelmed. You are where you are mentally, attitudinally, spiritually, physically, vocationally, because of choices you've made. You can blame everyone else, but you need to stop it and you need to take responsibility for yourself. I know that we're living in a somewhat frightening time. And can I give you a word of advice? It's okay to be scared. These are, for many folks, frightening days. At the very least, exceedingly challenging. It's okay to be scared. But here's what I have come to discover. In the times when fear begins to rise up and I become afraid, it may very well mean that I'm about to be stretched out of my comfort zone and grow in an area that I've become complacent in. So it's okay to be scared. Acknowledge fear. Anyone who tells you they are never afraid they have not told you one thing about their courage, but they've told you a lot about their mental health and their self-awareness. Everyone is afraid at times, and it's okay. But ask yourself, why am I feeling that way? It's because you're in a spot you've never been before. It may be because you're in a place where you know you're going to have to make changes and you're going to be stretched out of your comfort zone and have to do things you have not done before. So there is an important thing right now while you're doing whatever it is you are doing to just sort of realize that you can make some changes. But a lot of it is going to have to come with both planning and then the corresponding activity and action. And if you begin to plan out your day, what you're going to do, it gives you extra time then. It gives you some leeway in order to have some ability to execute. What mostly happens to folks is we have the inability, or we don't exercise the ability, to say no to interruptions and distractions, and it breaks our focus. That's why most people buy into the idea of multitasking. They can play on the phone, watch television, eat, talk to their friends, their family, all at the same time, and do all of them equally poorly. You have to be able to focus. And when you focus, you're then going to have to say no to interruptions and no to disruptions. So what do you do when you're living in a frightening time, or you're in a situation, as we mentioned earlier, which allows fear to rise within you? You don't feel like you really know what to do. You don't feel like you really have a grasp or a grip on what is transpiring all about you. Let's work through a couple of exercises. The first is, let's focus. I think we are so distracted by what is happening that it just causes us to be overwhelmed with fear. Don't let fear of your challenges overwhelm you. Take a step back, breathe, slow down. As I have said already on this podcast, challenges are the areas, when they happen, are the areas that help us to grow. It is the challenges that help propel us into the future as better individuals. So get your focus down. And what are the things you should be focusing on? If you're a woman or man of faith, I think you need to focus on your faith. Our faith informs us, regardless of where we are and where we are from, that there is more to life than what I experience by my senses. There's more to life going on than just the routine. There is more to life than just my goals, hobbies, and activities. And so our faith gives us a area to get ourselves on a firm foundation. It centers us. It holds us steady, especially during difficult times. So when you're facing these times of unprecedented challenge for you, focus on your faith. Turn yourself over to the Lord. Get into the Word and pray. The other focus would be on others. Oftentimes we become so self-absorbed when we're fearful, and we only think about how everything relates to me and how this makes me feel and what the implications will be for my own life. One way to get out of that very brutal habit is to begin focusing on others. Who in your household needs help? Who in your neighborhood needs help? Who in your world could benefit by your attention and some action that you could take? So one of the very first things is to get your eyes off of yourself and your circumstance and your problems and begin focusing on others. Now, the next one may seem a tad bit counterintuitive, and that is focus on yourself. By that, I'm talking about, as I've already mentioned, your spiritual health. Focus on your physical health. Are you exercising? Are you doing the things that you need to do? Go for a walk, a run, exercise, stretch, do those things. How about your mental health? Stop. Slow down, take a breath, take several breaths, focus, read some uplifting and positive literature or scripture, read some books that you've been putting off for a while. Go ahead and read them. When you're going through these times of difficulty, it's all right. You need to focus on yourself. I think you could focus on an area of your life that you're going to improve. I believe that when you're going through a fearful time is a way to develop your courage muscles. It's also a way to develop your leadership muscle. At times like this, when things are perilous, folks are looking for a leader who makes sense, who has confidence, who is making wise and intelligent and thoughtful decisions, and then are following it. If you're in a leadership position today, trust me, everyone is following you and they're going to follow your lead. And if you're fearful and you're timid and you're running around screaming, the sky is falling, we're all going to die, you are not giving your organization, your followers, any kind of confidence. As a matter of fact, you're only adding to the panic and the feeling of overwhelm that they have. So find an area of your life right now in this time where we are living and just focus on improving an aspect of your life. The final one that I want to mention is, regardless of where you are and what is happening today, there is a task at hand that you can work on. There is something you can do to move the ball forward. Now, I'm not saying dedicate the next 900 hours to that, but take some time and really work on what needs to be done. People tell me all the time they can do the impossible. They usually tell me that when the sun is shining, there's money in the bank, and everything's going well. And when you talk about the impossible in that context, well, anybody could tackle the impossible. But let me tell you something you can do today that seems to be impossible for many. And that's just determine right now that you're going to get up every day and you're going to love people. You're going to trust God. You're going to stay steady. That is what it will do. That is what it will make a difference. Just get up every day, love people, trust God, stay steady, and that's what is going to make the difference. We are all, I'm guessing, feeling pangs of stress periodically. Stress usually comes from having to figure it all out at one time. Let me give you some good news today. You don't have to figure it all out today. You only have to figure out the corresponding actions you need to take this day to move you forward one day at a time. We'll get it figured out as today becomes tomorrow. So here are some goals for you today. Breathe, relax, remain calm, love, trust, and you will get through today. I promise you that. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that this has been like a vitamin or supplement for your heart and mind. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review, and pass the word along. It is times like this, my leadership friend, that you were created for. And you are really doing much better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying have a great and blessed day.